Hi everyone, this is Lisa, and I hope you are having an awesome day. It's Tuesday and the sun is shining, and that's very happy for me. But Sunday, we've been studying the book of Nehemiah, and for those of you who don't know about Nehemiah, he faced a lot of frustrations. And I read a book a while back that said, God's left us a lot of pre recorded responses, and He talks to us through the Bible, leaving us examples. And so when you really look at Nehemiah, he had a mess on his hands and he didn't have to take it on. He really didn't. He could have just stayed in his comfort zone. He could have said, forget it, let somebody else do it. He could have, I don't know. He had a cushy job. Okay, so he was the cupbearer to the king and he lived in the palace. I mean, things were great. But when he heard that his homeland was torn up. The walls were all down, the gates had been burned, which back in those days you needed gates to fortify your city from attackers. Um, so he became very distressed. And little did we know it was also a behavioral issue, I guess you would say, if you showed sadness in front of the king. So he kept up his act for a while, but then one day the king noticed he was sad. And luckily, the king was very open to Nehemiah. He had prayed, he'd gone back and done a bunch of stuff to figure out what he should do. And the answer that had come to him was that he needed to go build the walls, which meant he had to leave his job. He had to leave his comfort zone. People were going to be against him. He didn't have a lot. He had to ask the king for letters for safe passage. He had to ask for a letter to get some wood to rebuild the gates. So there was a lot that had to be done here, but he thought he could do it, and it ended up being harder than he thought. And in the meantime, he had a crew of people, the people that were still there in Jerusalem that really wanted to work and really wanted to do this. And the opposition was so fierce that they had to stand guard. I mean, it was not an easy task by any means. People really just didn't want them to have a strong community there. But with God, all things are possible. You've probably heard this. So I've been dealing with discouragement myself. And I was like, okay, I don't probably think I had nearly as much as this person did. But he kept going, he kept praying, he kept staying strong, even his own people just grew weary. And it's a whole long story. But the one thing that kind of stood out to me, I oftentimes don't understand why we have suffering. So it says we rejoice in our suffering. And I thought, okay, how do you do that? Well, it just kind of hit me this week, and I'd seen these verses before. It's Romans 5, 3, and 4. But we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And that is how you get over discouragement. You get hope. It's kind of like one big circle. So if you are looking maybe to get over some discouragement, or you don't understand why you're suffering, I hope that helps you. That's why. We don't often get our character built when everything's going well. I mean, I've never seen a lesson learned out of everything going peachy cree, everything went as planned. You almost forget about it. But boy, when something goes wrong or you've got that big lesson to learn, don't you just get it quicker? I know I do. So that is why we have to go through the things that we do. So that kind of comforts me some. And the other things that I do to try and get over discouragement, or try to be an encourager to others. May not be able to help myself, but I can help others. I'm sorry, this shirt is, there we go. Let's fix that. Um, and just try to be the best person that you can be, but just refer to God's word. He does give you strength and nuggets. When I actually looked it up in a concordance, there was like a page and a half of verses just on encouragement, different types. So always look back to see what God's pre-recorded responses are and learn what may be holding you back, and then maybe you can throw off the discouragement, you and God together, and move forward with whatever it is you're supposed to do, because we all have a mission in life. We all have talents, and we're supposed to use them. That's what we're made for. All right, so go out there, be a blessing, get your blessings, and just remember that you are not alone in any of this. Discouragement happens to us all. So thank you, everyone, and have an awesome, awesome Tuesday. Bye bye.